yesterday at around 2 p.m., I fed probably what was about 5 grams, 2 to 3, 5 grams of starter. What I would guess is maybe 20, 30 grams of flour. I did not measure it. If you want to see the video, I was just proving that even if you have used everything up in your jar, you still have live culture in there. You still have microorganisms, yeasts, bacteria, and that you have not used up your starter if you think you have, as long as you've got a dirty jar. It is now the next day at about 9 o'clock in the morning. So that has been 19 hours at about 66 degrees. So the starter has peaked. I know that's kind of hard to see, but I'll show you. It smells pretty good. It's a little bit on the acidic side, and I want to show you the 2 options you can have for maintaining your starter if you only want to bake once a week. The first option, which is what I personally do, I do bake more than once a week, but if I'm not baking a lot, this is what I do. I take the itty bittiest little bit, put it in my jar. And you know what? Just for all of you so that you know, let's go ahead and actually weigh it. Even though, you know me, I like to be pretty laissez-faire. It's gonna be less than what your scale can actually measure. It is 1 or 2 grams of starter. You can, let's try maybe putting a tiny bit more in there, and I'll see if it even wants to measure it. So what I'm putting in here right now, this is 2 grams. So combined with what I put in before, let's call it 3 grams of starter. We're gonna do 3 grams of starter. Then we're gonna do 10 grams of water. And then we're gonna do 15 grams of flour. 15 divided by 3 is 5, so that means the ratio of starter to flour is 1 to 5. 3 to 15, 1 to 5. If you have a very cold kitchen like mine, if it's under 70 degrees, if it's in the 60s in your kitchen pretty reliably, you can just do this once a day. You're gonna get a slightly thicker starter. Why? Well, it's like how higher hydration breads ferment faster. If your starter is slightly more thick like this, then the yeast moves slower and it gives you a little more time before it's at peak. You could totally do equal amounts. You could do 3 grams of starter and 15 grams of water and 15 grams of flour. Either way. This is a 2-ounce jar, if you're looking for one online, and it looks like this. If you leave this for 24 hours, it is set. You can do this once every 24 hours. Take almost all of it out. Either save it and put it in the fridge and use it for a discard recipe once a week or whenever you want, or throw away 15 grams of flour. I mean, that costs you a few cents. So you can choose if you want to discard or if you want to throw away the rest. But if you want to feed your starter once a day, do what I just showed you and take out almost everything out of this jar. Don't screw it all the way tight. Put the lid on and just let it sit there. Now, for what I have left here, a lot of people asked me, well, how would I feed this to have enough for a loaf of bread? First off, this is enough for a loaf of bread. If I wanted to, I could mix up a loaf of bread right now with this. This is my mother. I have more starter. I could literally pour water and flour in here and use this as to make dough. If you want, I can show you how to make dough with a little bit of starter. You can comment that and I will do that. What you could also do with this, since I'm planning on baking today, is I'm gonna feed this a 1-1-1 ratio. That means equal amounts of everything. Equal amounts of starter, water, and flour. If you use equal amounts, that's gonna be the fastest rising. We fed this more because we only wanna feed it once a day. If you feed your starter 1-1-1 once a day, then it's probably ready to use or ready to be fed in 4 to 6 hours. And depending on your temperature and your type of flour. And if you only feed it that 1-1-1 once every 24 hours, that means that there's a good somewhere between 18 to 20 hours a day where your starter is hungry and getting more acidic. So that might be why you have really acidic starter. So I want to show you how to feed this a 1-1-1. Since I didn't measure this, we're going to transfer it into a different container. As much as we can out of here. $50 grams. So it was a little more than I thought it was. Okay, 54. Do 54 grams of water. Sorry. 54 grams of flour. Now, if I'm impatient and I want to use this as soon as humanly possible, I would have used some whole grains when I fed it, because whole grains ferment faster, and I would have used some hot water. This is a tea kettle, but it's cold. If I don't mind to wait for this for a while, then you leave it use cold water, use white flour, and leave it in a cold room. If you want to use it as soon as possible, use whole grains, use warm water, and stick it in the warmest spot in your house. Put it in the oven with the light on, but on the other side of the oven so it doesn't get too hot. Put it in your sourdough home. That's where I'm going to put mine. If you do not want to feed this every day, and you would rather keep your starter in the fridge and bake once a week, then you can basically do either of these things. If you really want to be lazy, which is totally fine, I just don't know what other word to use, you could have this amount, leave it out for about an hour, stick it in the fridge, and then let it come to room temperature and double, and then you can use it straight from the fridge once a week. What I think is better is to have this, let it sit out for a few hours, since it has less of the bacteria, less of the culture in it than that other 1-1-1. Leave it out for a few hours, stick it in the fridge, take it out, let's say the night before you want to bake. Let's say you want to mix dough on a Saturday morning. You work Monday through Friday. On Friday when you get home from work, take this out of the fridge and let it sit until you go to bed. Before you go to bed, feed your 30 grams of starter or so. Like, let's say you're making 2 loaves of bread, you need 200 grams in the morning. If you have 30 grams or so in here, 200 minus 30 is 170. So you need another 170 grams. That means that you want to feed 85 grams and 85 grams. So you have 200 in the morning. I know that you're only making exactly what you need, but didn't I just prove to you in my last video that you can use the scrapings of a jar? So when you get home from work on Friday, take this out and let it come to room temperature. Then before you go to bed, take all of it out into a new jar, feed it about 85 grams, maybe 90 if you're worried about not having enough. And in the morning, by the time you wake up, your starter will be ready. So you can mix dough as soon as you get up, do a couple folds, and then go about your Saturday. You don't have to sit around all day waiting for your dough or for your starter to rise because you woke up on Saturday morning and this is ready. I'll write that in the caption too, so you can kind of refer back to it and remember what I mean. So you wake up Saturday morning, you're sleepy, you got your coffee, you mix a quick dough up, and as you're reading the newspaper, don't read the news, just don't do it right now, but as you're hanging out with your family or watching your show or whatever it is that you do Saturday mornings, whenever you think about it, do a couple of folds. And then when you go out, do something, whatever you do on Saturdays, let your dough ferment, do the bulk fermentation. And by the time you get home from a fun activity, you can shape your dough, pop it in the fridge, and then bake it whenever you feel like it on Sunday. I hope this all makes sense. I'll write as much as I can in the caption.